Hello everyone, welcome back to Classic Comics. Thought I'd just get this quick video review of Midway out there before Veterans Day. I wanted to get this out Saturday because I went and saw it Saturday, but I woke up with a cold and a sore throat, so if I sound awful, that's why. So I took my father to see this yesterday. He's a big World War II fan of World War II films, and I am too. I'm a veteran myself, so I figured, why not? Now, this movie, it continues the current trend of having British actors play American servicemen. I think that kind of started with Black Hawk Down back in the 90s. And they're good. For the most part, they're really good. So, it's fine. So this movie actually starts shortly before the attack on Pearl Harbor. Now, the film mostly follows the crew of the USS Enterprise. That's the aircraft carrier. From the attack on Pearl Harbor to the Midway battle. Now, the cast is pretty good. They're not going to win any Oscars for this, but, they're all fine. The main strength of the film really is in the battle sequences, which are really well done, and did a great job of drawing me into the movie. Now, we get the attack on Pearl Harbor about 20 to 30 minutes in. And then we get the U.S. Attacking the Marshall Islands, which lasts about 5 minutes. Then after that, we get the Doolittle raid over Tokyo. Aaron Eckhart, actually, Harvey Dent himself, plays General Doolittle. And so what that was, if you don't know, the U.S. wanted to hit the Japanese mainland. Part of this was to, first, honestly, was just for revenge, but also part of it was to strike their mainland and make the Japanese feel like the Japanese mainland or homeland was vulnerable, and that would cause them to stop advancing and sort of pull their forces back, because the U.S., after the Battle of Pearl Harbor, they just didn't have the ships to stop them. They were pretty much outgunned. And so they took some Army bombers and they launched them off of aircraft carriers, which had never been done before. And they flew to Japan and performed a bombing run over Tokyo. Now, after that, they didn't have enough fuel to actually fly back to the fleet, so they flew over Japan and over the Sea of Japan to China, and they bailed out when their planes ran out of fuel. Then the Chinese then hid them and helped them escape back to America. And as the movie tells you at the end, the Japanese actually wound up killing about 250,000 Japanese, most of them civilians, as punishment for helping those Americans escape. Then after that, we get kind of a build-up to, the Midway attack. The Navy is trying to figure out where the Japanese are going to hit next. Now, a big part of the film is about the intelligence operation that was trying to, gather information on the Japanese. Now, the main guy running the operation is played by Patrick Wilson. His name is Leighton. And before the attack on Pearl Harbor, he was warning that Pearl Harbor was vulnerable and there could be an attack. And his superiors really just kind of dismissed his concerns, ignored them. And, of course, we all know how that turned out. So when the new commander comes in, who's Chester Nimitz, a big famous naval figure, played by Woody Harrelson, he's, basically willing to listen to the guys, because he knows that the last time they didn't listen and what happened, it was a disaster. So, and we see the intelligence operation, which, they're code breakers, in quotations, code breakers, it turns out are just, they're basically a Navy band. They're like trumpet players and stuff, who were basically just repurposed for code breaking. But, it worked. It turned out it worked. And their belief is that the Japanese, of course, their next big attack is going to be at Midway, which is roughly halfway between, Hawaii and Japan. Because America has, a base there and an airstrip there. And any planes that would maybe fly into the Eastern Pacific or towards Japan to launch an attack, would need to stop at Midway to refuel. And same with ships. They'd have to stop there to refuel. And so if the Japanese can take that out, it will really restrict the Americans pretty much to Hawaii. And so the problem is their superiors in Washington, of course, don't believe this. They dismiss the concern just like they did with Pearl Harbor. So they have to pull some shenanigans, basically, where they kind of disobey orders, and they take a gamble that they're right on the belief that Midway is the target, and they move their forces into position where, if they're right, then they can spring a trap on the Japanese. And I wonder how much of this is really historically accurate to what really happened, because it feels very Hollywood. They have a hunch, but their superiors don't believe it, and so they defy orders because they're convinced that they're really right. And of course, it turned out they were. And then the Battle of Midway is about the last 30, 45 minutes of the film. Now, the battle scenes, as I said, are all really well done. Because most of what we see are pilots in naval fighter planes and naval bombers. But again, the bombers, they're not big like B-52 bombers. They're just like fighters. They're fighters that carry one single bomb. And they only have one bomb, so they really have to make it count. I mean, you think off the top of your head, oh, just fly over a ship and drop a bomb. That sounds easy, but in the real world, it's more complicated than that. And the scenes where they're dive bombing on the characters, dive bombing on the carriers are really, really compelling. They're diving through just tons of anti-aircraft fire and flak. And man, I mean, the people who really did that stuff must have had nerves of steel or ice water in their veins. Because, I mean, I was sweating just watching it. Now, I won't... I won't spoil the ending and tell you who actually wins. But it's a solid war movie, and the cast, as I said, is pretty good. The main character is... it's an ensemble cast, but the main character is a pilot named Dick Best, who is played by Ed Skrein, or Screen. I'm not sure how you pronounce his name. I think it's Skrein. He's a British actor. The main thing he's known for is he played Francis in Deadpool. And then his immediate superior is a guy named McCluskey, who's played by Luke Wilson, another Brit. Dennis Quaid plays the captain of the Enterprise. Bill Halsey, I've heard of him. And as I said, Woody Harrelson plays Chester Nimitz. They're all fine. The film also shows the Japanese side of things. We get to see Admiral Yamamoto planning to hit Midway, so we see that the Japanese didn't all necessarily agree on how to pursue the war. Yamamoto, of course, had been to America, unlike the rest of the Japanese elite, who were fairly isolationist at this time. He had received his upper education in America, so he knew more about America and about our culture and our people than the rest of the Japanese leadership. And he warned his superiors against attacking America, because he knew, for one thing, that America wasn't just a bunch of effete playboys, as the Japanese believed. Also, he knew how big America was and just how many Americans there actually were. After Pearl Harbor, he famously said, I fear we have awakened a sleeping giant and filled him with terrible resolve. And he was right. So, are you planning to see this movie? I recommend it. Why not? I mean, it's Veterans Day. What else are you going to see? Dr. Sleep, right? So, if you see it, let me know what you think of it in the comments. And please like this video, and please subscribe to my channel. And hit the bell for notifications for future videos. And I'll see you all next time. Thanks for watching.